Yeah, I said I thought it was around there.
Yeah, they've done a little
I found notes, my book that Willie was appointed on. He said he was the dark officer.
Oh, that's not surprising.
Yes.
Not surprising. So I have to do this from memory because I forgot my backup version.
I think he just wants us to give a hollow when you
Yeah,
call it.
when you're ready.
Yep.
Hold
Yeah.
on, hold on.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, yeah.
Pam?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
You ready?
Okay. It is Monday, August 27th. I'd like to bring the Ayer Board of Health meeting to order.
Okay, Madam Chair. I will make a motion to approve the minutes of July 23rd, 2018, and the minutes of August 6th, 2018.
Okay. I second it.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so I'll sign these and pass them.
Yeah, is there like... okay, you're going to start with yours. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
All right. All right, next on the agenda is the review, excuse me, and approval, oh, we did that, sorry, discussion of the issues related to the Board of Health's changing responsibilities in matters pertaining to the aquifer protection. So it's-
Yeah.
and you had some input on that, yeah.
I did. My latest input, which has not changed any, is that according to our town attorney, Ann Takari, we can't be the special permit granting authority, which is fine. So we need to either decide if we want to get rid of our regulation or if we want to keep our regulation and have some kind of arrangement with planning board or ZBA that they're going to enforce our regulations the way they're written. Or a third option would be that we modify our regulations to match theirs, because there are some differences in the text. So if we want to keep our own regulation, it would probably make the most sense, rather than expecting planning board and ZBA to enforce our slightly different version, for us to just change our version so that it matches theirs, and then work out some arrangement where, we're just like a co-reviewer or a approver on any special permit.
So the modification piece would be simpler? It would just be the language? We wouldn't have
Yeah, I
to go
think
through a whole big change.
Right, I think it's really only in a few places where the language is different. So that's kind of in path of least resistance.
That's what I'm saying.
Is just to get
makes
rid of
sense.
ours, but then we're gonna have internal resistance, because we may not really wanna do that. So if, we look at all the parties involved, I think path of least resistance is to make ours match theirs in the few ways that it doesn't. And then we would probably have to have, some kind of language in there that would say that, take out this stuff about special permit granting authority, acknowledge that that's planning board and ZBA, but that, Board of Health would co-sign or something on anything involving. But then I know the question then is going to be, well, if we change our regulation to be exactly the same as theirs, then why do we need to be a co-signer? It's like, why don't we just have one regulation and one
Well, I think we're getting two different
approval
things.
authority?
What we have here is, and first of all, that special permit went before town meeting, and then in 2000, went by town council too. So now, I know it's 18 years later, things changed. Might even be the same town council, but it was certainly the same firm.
Yes.
So we were listed there. We came up with the Aquifer Protection District health regulations, and we were listed as, and town meeting voted. Now, if he's saying that the language has changed statewide, I don't know. We're still a Board of Health.
Right.
And we should have, I don't care anything about a special permit granting authority, but I still think we should have our health regulations, and that somebody that is going to do anything in our Zone 2 needs to come before us. And we have a hearing, as we did for Mark, for 41 East Main Street, as we've done for other people, as we did for you when you wanted to do some work down there.
Yeah.
And it's a regulation. It's a Board of Health regulation. It's not zoning. It's not a special permit. So I think we should keep our. Now, we can just change the regulation as far as special permit granting.
Yeah, because I'm looking even at the animals. It's not talking about a special permit. It just says you need a permit from the Board of Health.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So
yeah. That's.
So would we be looking for an amendment to the language in this regulation? It's not two separate, like you said, it's really one and the same, but it's a reference to the Board of Health that we still have our overseeing piece in it.
I don't think we can or should make any changes to the zoning regulations.
No,
because that's already been
yeah.
reviewed and approved.
Right.
So on ours, then it would be just taking out it, instead of referring to it as a special permit. It's going to be just a permit issued by Board of Health.
Okay.
So let's work a little more then and just cleaning up that language, because we don't want the special permit, which was something put forward. We were told to do it. Under that.
And I don't know. I have seen the language, so I believe it. That it does say that this special permit is issued
this
by.
This is the one we voted at the town meeting.
In 2000.
Yeah, it was adopted in May of 2000 and amended in October 11th of 2000.
Okay.
Yeah. Describes the recharge areas as Zone 1 and 2, the interim wellhead, and then again, it lists the Board of Health as the special permit granting.
Jane?
The Zone 1 is the DEP approved 400-foot radius. Zone 2, it lists what that is, and Zone 3. So, I remember going to meetings.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't on the board then, but I certainly remember going to the meetings on this.
Jane, what did you
Through
have?
the chairman to the board, I'm not sure when, in the last couple of years, certainly since these regulations were approved 18 years ago, the state has modified. It's so
okay.
where, and it has defined the special permit granting authorities.
I see.
And I'm not sure that was defined before. That's new. That new.
That's what I wasn't
definition.
sure, is if that, like, the underlying state position on this
Yeah.
had
So,
changed.
it's a matter of these things have changed at the state level.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
now we have to bring our regulations into compliance, so there's consistency.
so if we think through, what are the scenarios that could happen? We could have a scenario where ZBA or planning board does not grant the special permit. Fine, then I guess it doesn't even go to us. But we could also have a scenario where they do grant a special permit and we deny the special permit. That's where I think Carly was saying that the bylaws are at a higher level than a regulation that we would impose, and that would probably give whoever the applicant was in that case pretty good reason to get our decision overturned. So I'm not sure, I mean, we kind of have to think through what are the eventualities
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
if we do this, and I guess that's the worst case, would be planning or ZBA issues the special permit, we do not. What would then happen in that scenario?
Well, I know things hadn't changed as far as 2012 because we did review all these in 2012.
I have no idea when it changed.
Well, I have it on my,
No, not that,
Yeah.
when the, like, state,
well, that's why I think we need to get a little more information from the state as to,
yeah,
I don't think, we're a health board. And I
Yeah.
don't think we
Yeah.
should give up any regulations with, because that's what they specifically are, health regulations.
yeah.
Not a zoning bylaw, health regulations.
No, I know that, I know.
so we need to gather more, we need to look at the state regs
Yes,
versus.
yes,
Okay.
that's what I think.
I can
Um,
do that.
Jane,
Through the chairman to the board, I have reviewed the state regs, and it says specifically, and it lists the board, or the Board of Selectmen, the planning board, the ZBA, and as permit granting,
Yeah.
as being able to be permitting granting authorities. The Board of Health is left out of that list.
That's exactly what I remember seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there might be 4 or 5 different, maybe the conservation, maybe, but Board of Health is
Right.
specifically not
yeah, I
listed,
know,
and I have seen
know.
that.
I know.
So,
So the competing question, though, becomes, so that's all well and good when it comes to bylaws and zoning and so forth.
yeah.
Then when you look in the section of the Mass General Laws that talks about boards of health, it says that boards of health may, create such regulations as they deem necessary to protect public health.
right.
So that's what I think when I asked Carly, I think the question and the response came very much from an angle of bylaws versus a regulation that
Right,
a
it's
board.
a hierarchy.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, I remember
And
this
so
discussion.
it's a nest, it's like the nesting dolls.
Right,
But maybe we could have a oversight. Maybe we could, although we are not granting the authority or the permit granting authority, maybe there's room for us to have oversight. So we could review
Yeah.
and determine or maybe advise.
so what would that look like in terms of, like you said, these are the permit granting authoritative boards, and we're not part of it
Yeah.
going forward? Would it be a meeting? I mean, if one of these boards said no, but we
Right.
disagreed, what would that look like? Would it
Yeah.
be- it gets
Exactly,
tricky
yeah.
because it's not just one other board, it's,
Yeah, and should the review be done all as one?
yeah, and when you say oversight, Jane, that would be written as in regulations for all of these?
It would be,
Boards?
I think that, I don't know, because I
Yeah.
don't know how you would approach it
I'm
from a
curious, yeah.
regulation standpoint, and I think we probably need to have guidance from town council on exactly how we would do that. But I certainly think it's common for a board to reserve right to review
Yeah.
the reasoning or whatever of another board. I think just as an oversight, and then maybe we could have a sense of, gee, we think this is irregular, and we could have a conversation or something. There would have to be language as to what
Yeah.
kind of power we would have if it came to that. But it could be just as an advisory thing.
Well, I guess this is kind of pointing me back to, I think, something I said a while back, that the right people to go to on this might be that MAHB, Mass Association of Health Boards, that we do belong to,
Yes,
because their purview is just boards of health.
that's correct.
So they may very well, with the, what are we up to, 351 or 2 or something towns?
We have 351.
Yeah.
351. I knew you would know the exact number.
So, any more?
They may-
None have snuck in.
No new ones have snuck
Oh,
in.
no.
So they may very well have come up against this question before, especially if that change in the law, I mean, we may not have been the only Board of Health that had a regulation out there talking about, special permits and SPGA. So
Sure.
Well, I think too,
I can do
because
that.
we're a small community land-wise, but we had to do something because we had so much contamination around.
Yeah.
And we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars looking for another source of clean water, and there isn't any. So
Yeah.
we had to come in, and I think it was with everybody came forward and
Between
said,
Devon's and
Yes.
the railroad,
yes,
you're right, we're a
yes,
small community, but they've kept us hopping.
yes,
Yes, definitely.
yeah, we did. So
Yeah.
Okay,
You
so
know.
going forward, what do you,
So-
what do you
well, I
think?
think
Yeah.
Pam's
How about if I
idea is
email
right.
the MAHB?
Yes.
Okay,
And maybe I could even call them too and kind of explain it, because
Yes.
it's a little bit involved, but,
Okay.
just what our situation is, and is there anyone there who can assist us? Now, if we get into, I think it only costs us, like $150 a year to belong to
Right,
that?
yeah.
So
yes,
I can't imagine that buys you very much legal time. So if we actually need an MAHB attorney to look at this, if it's a quick and easy thing, we may get that under our dues. But, if there's an associated cost with going on to a further review of this, then I will just ask them to, can you give us an idea of what you think that might be? And
Well,
bring that information back to the board.
Yeah, I think we should, and I think also you might email Neshoba Board of Health to see if they've had
That's true, too.
anything with
Yep.
this. They certainly cover enough towns. Again,
I'll do that.
not one that has all the problems we've had. And I remember going to the meetings when they drew this up and then amended it at fall town meeting. And I think that's when we started having all the problems with the auto unloading facility down there, Guilford.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
we needed to do something with the wells and
Yeah.
everything. And I think that's when it all
Yeah,
happened.
I think
And
that's
when
when
it
Yep.
was amended. And a couple of times we've gone to meetings since I've been on the board with all the various ones for site review and
Yeah.
everything. So I do think,
The timing's about right, 2000 for,
yeah. And I think
Our
I see
original,
here
yeah.
we reviewed some of it in 2014 also.
Yep.
So I don't think we should drop this, and I certainly think health-wise and
let's
water
just try to get a
quality.
read then
Yeah.
from, because if we get back response from them too, saying, you guys don't have a leg to stand on, it's,
I can't imagine.
I don't think so either.
No, I don't
But if we
imagine
do, at least we'll have that
In writing
information.
and
Yeah.
share it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Um,
I think that's the best,
Okay,
that's what I'd say.
Agreed.
all right, I will do that.
All right, Pam, thank you. All right, so next on the agenda, review the regulations governing the
Yes.
keeping of animals and fowl.
So, I did start a mock-up of this, and I
Okay.
thought that it would probably be a good idea, since we have a new animal inspector, to ask her to also review a copy of this to see if it's, kind of up to date, and is there anything that she would propose changing or doing differently. So maybe, Jane, you could get a copy of this to Julie and just ask her what,
Jane, okay, I'll be happy to
just
do that.
looking for her to kind of review it and,
Yeah.
and let us know. So I would just change, I think there's a couple of things that we have to change. So if you look under animal, reptiles and snakes are included in this, which means that I'm sure there are several people in town, myself included, who are actually in violation of this because we have reptiles or amphibians. Amphibians aren't really covered, I guess, so maybe my turtle is okay. So I would propose that we kind of take the reptiles and snakes. I mean, if you have a reptile breeding facility or a snake farm or whatever it's called, yeah, maybe that's how I would propose rewording that. That if it's an individual keeping reptiles or snakes or amphibians as pets, that's okay. But if you have some kind of, commercial or breeding,
Tell me how a snake is a pet.
It is.
it's a little beyond me,
I know
but
people that have them, Mary.
people
I don't
have them.
understand it, but they.
I know.
So
You don't take it out and pet it?
Yeah, you do.
You don't walk it on
They
leash?
actually do.
They do.
Oh,
They do.
please.
Yeah.
Please.
Oh, we had an
Yeah.
pet alligator when I was growing up, and he was
So-
very much a member of our family.
Oh my gosh.
For years.
Oh my
So the
God.
definition would be where it says animals, all animals such as but not limited to cattle, goats, sheep, swine, equines, llamas, poultry, large animals, livestock, reptiles or snakes, which are kept or harbored as domesticated animals.
So I thought we were
So-
gonna take out reptiles.
Yeah, I would kind of
I don't want to
move.
take that out.
No?
So you think you should need a
I think there's
Permit?
some, I think there might be some state laws with regards to reptiles.
That's an interesting point. Let me check
In
that
fact,
out.
when we were talking about it once, and I know that Neshoba Board of Health is looking at a lot of the local regulations,
Yeah.
because Bridget did mention it.
Yep.
And this is one of them I know that they're
Okay.
looking at. Because what we have to think about is, in this changing world with so many darn other things we have to look into,
Yeah.
what can we legitimately enforce?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So I know they're looking at all these, so I'd like to get some input from them.
Well, that's exactly why I'm saying reptiles and snakes, pet reptiles and snakes, I think need to come under the exclusion, because I don't see how we can enforce that. Who the heck knows if somebody has a gecko in their house? How would you know? I don't know. Or a garden snake or something like that. I know there are some state laws when it comes to turtles on the size
Yeah.
that the turtle has to be at retail level when they go to sell them. But I will check that out and see what the state laws on that are. But,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
my proposal would be probably moving reptiles and snakes maybe under the excluded,
Okay.
unless you have some big breeding operation. The other thing I'm wondering about is this domesticated, I think the pot-bellied pigs
Yeah.
needs to come out, because that's kind of an old term, and there are a lot of, they're not all pot-bellied
Right.
pigs. There's micro pigs, there's mini pigs, it's kind of, I don't know.
Well, the pigs, well, so what is
Wait
the
a
real,
minute.
this swine?
They're
this-
excluded.
They're
already-
excluded, right. I'm
Right.
just saying that I don't think it needs to be a pot-bellied pig.
Just
To be
take out the
excluded.
term potbelly. 'cause
Yeah,
that's
I
a-
think it's
that's a-
domesticated
That's
pigs.
a breed.
Yeah,
Domesticated pigs would mean the ones that you keep in your house.
Yeah.
Not the farm pigs, not the big
No, I know.
500.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So you just want to take out the word
Potbelly.
The
potbelly.
Yeah,
Because there's more mini breeds than potbellied.
right.
right, exactly. So we got cats, dogs, ferrets, which used to be illegal. But there's a whole bunch of other animals that are now growing, like sugar gliders.
Yes,
you heard of that?
I have.
What are they?
What are they?
They're like squirrels. They're like the.
Yeah, they're kind of like flying squirrels.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard the
Yeah.
word flying
Yeah, and they get the
squirrels.
big-
Yeah, and so these sugar gliders are used as pets in some cases. The other thing too that occurred to me is kind of based on that horrible incident where that monkey, whatever it was,
Oh, yeah.
chimpanzee attacked the woman.
Yeah.
We don't address monkeys in here. So I think primates is something we should
I
have.
thought those were. It's illegal.
Yeah.
I'll look and see at the state
Yeah.
I think
level.
it
We
is.
may not be able to keep a primate in
I'm almost
Massachusetts.
positive because that happened in Connecticut or Rhode Island, Cam.
Yeah, it's Connecticut.
And I think it was
Yeah.
either her background was with a zoo or she ended up adopting it or taking it from
Okay.
I don't think there was. I'm almost positive that nobody, because I remember long time ago, someone I knew had a monkey, and this was back in the 70s, and there weren't those guidelines for, and they just put a stop to that.
Let me see
I
if
think
that
it varies
is. That-
state by state.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if that's the case, that would be a really good section of the mass law to reference in here. So I'm
Yeah.
going to make a note of that too. Reference MGL. I think probably little things like these sugar gliders and stuff are probably going to fall under the exclusion.
Yeah.
I mean, they're little house pets,
Yeah.
so, you know. So I'll kind of do a little search for that. The other thing that we don't have covered under here, as long as we're going to update it,
Yeah.
is birds other than poultry. So
Oh,
like
yeah.
a parrot. Or
And that's becoming more and more popular.
yeah.
I know a lot of people that parrots. Where, so that would
So
be,
I would say that should go under an exclusion. I don't know what the exact wording
exotic
would be.
birds. Would they be considered exotic birds if they're parrots or parakeets?
How about
or,
a parakeet or a canary? Is that exotic?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think the little ones, but the big, like the cockatiels and the.
Yeah, those are definitely exotic. Let me just try to find something. if exotic
Well, there are
is the right
finches,
word.
there
Yeah, there's the
Yeah, there's
people
finches,
used to have little
all
finches and
kinds of
Yeah.
stuff.
parakeets.
Yeah.
Those were
Cockatiels.
problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think that there's something in the mass law that has to do with wildlife, and you
Correct.
can't bring wildlife.
I think you're right on that.
No,
Put
yeah, I
that
remember
one
that
here.
people used to find wounded raccoons and things like that
Yeah.
and bring them in to and try to
Yeah.
domesticate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think if we went with rodents, we could probably cover the hamsters, ferrets, because people keep mice, people keep rats
Oh, yeah.
as pets. So we may want to use the term,
Instead of, well, it's cited ferrets
we thought,
and hamsters,
yeah.
but ferrets aren't considered,
Are they
A
not
rodent.
rodent?
No. They're in the mink family.
Oh,
I only know this because I took my grandson to the Bolton Animal Adventure this past week, and I listened to all this stuff. They had ferrets. They had all these.
What they're called?
everything.
What?
They're part of the mink family.
so they're not
yeah.
rodents.
They're not considered a rodent.
Okay.
No, and
Okay.
they're carnivorous. They have sharp teeth,
Oh,
like
right.
they can
They have
bite.
to, yeah.
So rodents are the ones that have like the big
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so at the very least, then, we want to do something about rats and mice.
Through the chair to the board,
Yes.
just looking at these categories, it's occurred to me that broadly speaking, we would want to issue permits for animals that are kept outside.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
animals that are excluded from that may be indoor animals. Because,
Yeah.
for example, rabbits. If you have a pet rabbit and you're keeping it inside, it's a different thing than if you have hutches and you're keeping them outside. And I think that we should be looking at rabbits just like we would look at chickens, because properly, traditionally rabbits are kept in hutches outside.
Yeah, and that's occurred to me too, that rabbits probably should be more up here with the chickens than.
Yeah.
If
So
have
you
one
want
bunny in
to
a
you
cage-
want a permit for a couple of rabbits in your yard? Is that what you're saying?
Well, how are they that different from
Chickens.
a couple of chickens in your yard?
Well, most of the people that we have with chickens have more of them, and they're raising them, and then they're selling them, selling the eggs.
No.
Yeah, or using the eggs. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some people
Yeah,
that
I've
only
seen-
have, 3, 4
Not too
Chickens,
many.
yeah.
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 2 or 3, and they're kept sometimes as pets.
The thing
Sometimes
with the rabbits too, they breed out so quickly that they're selling them if they
Yeah,
have
I
more
know.
than 1 or 2 in
I
a
know.
hutch.
yeah, and
Well,
they,
if
maybe
they,
we
excuse
could-
me,
and they're
if-
food stuff. I mean, people
True.
eat them.
if
Yeah.
they have them outside and they're breeding them or selling, then they also have to get a permit
Right.
to sell. So
Yeah, and then they start to fall under the USDA. Rabbits is the one that kind of jumps the gap, really, between
Yeah.
indoor outdoor. But you're right, it is kind of an indoor outdoor thing.
Yeah.
And
So
there
let's think
are
about
people
that.
who keep rabbits like they keep cats.
Yeah.
I know.
In the house with a litter
Yeah,
box.
I know.
Mhm.
And those, I would think, would be exempted. But if they've got them outside in hutches,
Yeah,
just from a humane standpoint, you'd want to make sure that they're being properly
that's true
tended.
too. And you've got the manure. I mean, you have chicken manure, you have rabbit manure. I've had a rabbit.
Yeah, pellets.
Yeah.
Well, my friend had a rabbit that went to California with him, and he was very fond of toast with peanut butter on it. Hey, that rabbit went all across country with them. Absolutely.
Is that right?
Francis.
Was it a big lop? One of those big loppy ones with the big long
Floppy.
It was
Rabbit.
a rabbit. It was a
Average
pet. It
size,
was
yeah.
in the house. He was
Oh
a
my
pet.
God.
And yes, and then when they moved to California, because her daughter was there and her grandchild, they had to they traveled cross-country, and they had to make sure they had a proper place to stay, because they had Francis with them.
Are you sure this wasn't a Harvey situation?
Yeah.
It was like a big imaginary
I
ride.
love that.
I
One of
know.
my favorites.
It's not a great movie.
Okay, so that's
funny.
something to look at.
Yeah, so I'll take a shot at like how could I redo that one. I think that the rest of it, when it comes to because there's some kind of like contradictory information, like wild animals, because here then we start talking about snakes, and we said snakes were okay. So I'll just kind of do a lineup check to the things that we're counting as animals and wild animals, do they really line up properly? I also thought that we should probably, if we take this in order, I think the information that we're requesting seems reasonable. Where are you? Who are your butters? What are you going to keep? What are you going to do with your, do you have wells? Do you have all that stuff? Storage of feed and stuff, that all seems reasonable. I didn't know, and I'm not quite sure where to go to find this. When it comes to paddocks and corrals, it does make sense that you want to keep them back from property.
Is this under section 5?
This is, no, it's under,
Permits?
so permits, number 8.
Still, okay.
Yeah, so if you have, a paddock or corral has to be at a sufficient distance from the property line so you don't get damage to the property
Yeah.
or have contact with children or anybody else. That makes sense to me. But I was also thinking about the minimum space for, okay, this does say paddocks. Paddocks used for horses/stallion must provide at least a half an acre of land per animal. Okay. All right,
Yep.
got it.
Yep.
All right.
That was a big issue when
Yeah.
they were being put together.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think we also should look at the fee. Does the $25 really cover what Jane does and what the animal inspector does with going out to inspect the property
Well,
once a year?
what do you mean what Jane does?
Well, Jane gets the application.
Yeah.
And then she contacts the animal inspector and sends them out. She has some communication a lot of times with the application with whoever has applied. If they don't send in, all the right information, then she types up the permit, and every year.
So you're looking
she
at
does a permit.
more we've had these for a long while, should we up
Yeah,
cost
I
of
think it
these
should be a
permits?
self-sustaining thing. So I think that we should look at having a permit fee that at least.
Well, we haven't changed the fee, so
Yeah.
I'm not in any way disappointed by that. I think that's fine. That's something we look at, or we should look at, because the cost of doing business goes up. And I think that's one
Yeah.
of the things that the chair of the Board of Selectmen said recently. We
Yeah.
need to look at
Yeah.
some of our costs, because the salaries we pay and the benefits go up. And if we and we're not trying to really hurt people, but
No,
hey,
no,
the
no,
cost
no.
goes up with everything.
Cost goes up with everything,
Well,
but the application, the permits
Yeah.
Have stayed the same since we put
the
them into
permits have
effect.
stayed the same, but there's the number of permits. We're doing a lot of permits with,
Well, we
especially
are.
like chickens and-
Yeah.
Well,
that's increased.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know what the number should be, so what I'm saying is rather than just throw out a number, maybe we should just double it to 50 or
Well-
whatever. I guess I was thinking maybe if we can get an idea, Jane, like about how much
Well,
time do you spend?
Bridget is doing all these things, so one of the things we could ask her for is what are other towns charging?
Well, that's what I just said with the
Yeah.
other thing. I said they're
Yeah, that makes
reviewing
sense, too.
everything.
Yeah.
Because,
Ira,
because,
Bridget,
you know, we
Jim.
want to be in the ballpark, but, you
Yeah.
know, I don't know, I think chickens are real cheap. I don't know how much it costs to buy a chicken.
Yeah, maybe
but-
actually it's a sliding fee. Maybe for chickens it's one thing, and if, you know, you
Wow.
have
Maybe
stables
over
or
a
something,
period,
it's,
you know, if it's more extensive, then maybe if you
Maybe
have
another
up to,
thought,
up to
too.
10 chickens, it's 25. If you have more than that, it's 50.
Maybe it gets more confusing, I think one thing. But these, again, go back to 2007,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's reasonable.
So there, it's
Let's
due
get-
for another,
Let's get an idea of what the other towns.
Well, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying,
yeah.
if
Okay.
they're
Okay.
reviewing everything over there
All right.
and looking at,
is that something we
prices
can have
and stuff.
Jane, ask Bridget, work with Bridget on?
well,
just
just
for
email
us?
over
What-
there.
yeah,
Bridget
what do you
said
think?
they were looking at everything.
Yeah, I can ask her.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, that sounds good. Okay, the thing about removing, yeah, that was fine.
Now, which do you want to remove and make sure?
No, removing if you have animals and you don't have, we find you don't have a permit, you have to remove them. Standards of care, I think to me sound reasonable. I don't know, I mean, I'm not an animal husbandry person or whatever you call it. So I think that's something I'd like to ask our animal inspector to take a look at, or do these standards of care make sense still? Is there anything that we're missing that's
I don't
become
think so.
kind of current, accepted practice?
Through the chairman to the board, one of the things that I'm curious about is the history involved with number 6. Barbed wire shall not be used for fencing.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
I'm wondering if that's just,
Because that's one of the things, we've got a person in town who is using barbed wire, I believe, so I've been told. And is that something that we want to, why is it being excluded? Is it lawful to exclude
Where are
it?
you now?
Is
Number
6
6
under
Yeah.
standards of care?
for some reason, I don't know if I read somewhere or if
Oh.
am I thinking this is some kind of, that they don't use it anymore for maybe, is it not cruelty purposes or injury to the animal, or, you don't see that a lot.
That's a really good question.
I don't have that.
This-
Right.
Number 6?
Yeah, under, so it's section 5.
Well, I'm looking at my permit here, and I only have 5. Where are you? Standards of care, section 5.
On page
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, number 6.
This is the one I've got.
Mary stops at number 5. She doesn't have 6, 7, 8, 9.
I wonder why.
Ah,
Where did you get your copy, Mary?
I have it.
It's different. Look,
Oh, maybe it's an old copy. What's the date on it?
This is a review on 1/9. What's your date, Mary?
oh yeah, yours doesn't have the stuff in
Yours
the
doesn't
footer
have the,
there,
the
yeah.
I've got a copy.
You might not, I think
Yeah.
you don't have the version as it finally got approved.
Yeah.
Well, this is the original one.
Yeah, but it's been obviously upgraded.
Here.
Because
Yeah.
there's more numbers on that one.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember, Mary, any discussion of barbed wire and why you would or would not have wanted to use it for fencing?
I had a feeling it had something to do with that. It's injury, and then they get
I think it
wounds.
probably was,
I'll check on it.
yeah.
Because I have a lot of the animal sites still bookmarked
Okay.
on my computer, so I think I can probably do
I've
that.
noticed when you go to different places that have animals that are, large animals like that, it's just a smooth wire now. You don't have those,
Hmm.
um,
Well, that's an electric fence.
some of them, yeah. or they just don't go any further, that they've been in corrals for so long, but I thought it had something to do with wounds.
I will check that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me
So
write
So we're
that
gonna look
down.
at, that's number 6.
More animals.
All right.
So there's this standard of care is talking on the one hand about animals,
Mhm.
and then it starts to get pretty specific about horses with paddocks and stables, and so
Yes.
I wonder if there should be, kind of a separate section for horses. Because this number 13, adequate supply of water, I mean, that would apply to all
Everything,
animals,
yeah. It says for all animals.
I could look at this, do you split this into? And other, try to make it more generic maybe.
Mhm.
Okay, maintenance seems to make sense, so you want to prevent spreading of disease, and it's got to be clean and sanitary, and yeah, food should be stored, one or more dead animals should be disposed of or incinerated, yeah. Okay, the written manure management plan, yes, that's good.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you do need to have that. Keeping of poultry.
Okay,
I'm
through
sorry, go
the,
ahead.
through the chairman to the board.
Yes.
Okay. I'm wondering if we should outlaw in Ayer the use of, what are they called? Lagoons. Lagoons.
Oh, waste lagoons.
Because we have a very small town. And say we had a commercial interest come in, and one of the problems with factory farming are the lagoons, and they are hideous. And I'm just wondering if we need to prohibit lagoons, just because. I mean, maybe we don't even have to bother, but it might be nice to have them in there.
Yeah, it might be something that we could even include under number 1, because I'm seeing that last sentence there, water including
Ponding.
drainage shall
Yeah.
not be stagnant or collect or create a ponding effect.
Yeah.
So maybe a good add on that there would be that, yeah, lagoons
And given the fact where we have the issues with the
prohibited.
mosquitoes, that's
Yeah.
the perfect place for
That's a
them.
very good point, Jane,
Yeah.
about those waste lagoons. It is
They're,
Yeah.
really
No.
disgusting.
and
Yeah.
we just don't have, there's not the space.
Yeah.
But somebody might come in, and if it's not addressed in our reg, they might be able to.
That would be a good place to
Yeah.
put it,
Yeah.
because I think we're walking right up to it there with.
So
Yeah.
where are you putting
Yeah.
it?
Number
I'm thinking under
1.
C, number 1.
Yeah, because it talks
okay.
about it.
Very last line
Yeah.
says, water, you can't, including drainage, can't be stagnant or create a ponding effect. So I would then add
Would it
on
be
something,
waste
yeah. I think
lagoons?
they're called waste lagoons. I'm
I never
gonna
heard
check
of
it
them.
out.
Oh,
Yeah, they're just what they sound like. It's like
Yeah.
a big pond of animal waste.
Mm.
So the keeping of poultry one, I guess what I was looking at with the earlier one is, like should there be, poultry's under its separate section,
Yeah.
should it be standards of care general? And then standards of care, equine or, whatever, and then poultry. So this one in particular, I would say if we could have Julie take a look at that. And I know that Bridget had said that the animal inspector, who I think is also the animal control officer in Groton,
Groton, yeah,
is
it's one.
really experienced and
Yeah.
provided some help with the McNiff farm and has offered himself up as a resource for Julie. So this might even be something that, she could go over with him and just see. It seems very simple and very kind of vague.
So which is?
What? Keeping
This
the
thing
poultry?
about keeping a poultry, yeah.
It says
Oh, where
sufficient
is it?
size.
I'm
in
not
section
Yeah,
6.
coops for the keeping of poultry shall be of sufficient
okay.
size and design.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, what's sufficient?
Well, there's no,
I
yeah.
mean, I guess it's gotta be able to stand up
Well,
and turn around.
You have a
and-
good point, because when you talk about the horse stalls, it's giving you a very specific
Yeah.
area of,
But see, poultry is different because chickens and poultry come in all different sizes. So you can have miniature chicken. I mean, some of the chickens are much smaller than other chickens. So you can't say, oh, every chicken has to have 5 square feet
Yeah,
or anything
yeah.
like that. So
Well, that's why I'm thinking of maybe not doing it in terms of an absolute, like,
I'm
square
thinking
feet,
that
but-
right here where it says, where it can be kept in a safe and healthy manner and maintained in a clean and sanitary conditions. Because I think that the state is moot on this point as well.
so it's at the discretion of the person inspecting.
Yeah.
I don't see
They don't
anything
think.
wrong with that.
I think
Yeah.
anything, any animal.
Mary, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So I mean, if the
No.
inspector goes and they see that the chicken's like this and a little tiny,
Yes.
then it's
Yes.
not sufficient. It's an
Yes.
obvious.
But if we get into,
You
3
can't
cubits by 2
Oh, you
cubits.
can't get
it's
into
just-
that kind of stuff.
Oh, no,
It's
I wouldn't do
ridiculous.
that.
No, yeah, we could.
I was thinking something more along the lines of having enough room to stand up, turn around.
Like the horse description.
Yeah.
I
Something
think
like
this is,
that.
I don't see anything wrong with this as it is.
And keep it at the discretion of the animal inspector.
I mean, if the
Yeah.
animal inspector
Yeah.
came back to us and said, I got a problem, Tricia Peters, and I know she's on your board, and she's got chickens, and she's got 35 chickens,
Yeah.
and they can't even move. They're in this little coop. So
Yeah.
I want her fined. Well, that's a whole different thing. I mean,
I would immediately make a call to PETA.
yeah,
Better get right
yeah.
on you.
No, I think you can't be
I think
specific
it's a
on
good point.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the discretion of
Yeah.
the inspector.
Yeah. And I think we had a case up on Snake Hill Road where there was a problem and they had to change it because of, again,
Yeah.
was not room.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
I think
Exactly.
you gotta have common sense.
All right. Keeping of wild or exotics. This might be the exact section.
That- Yeah,
Yeah. That I'm looking
for the reptile amphibian kind of notation. or
Yeah,
the
and
bird
even
kind of-
like it says wild and exotic animals.
Yeah.
And I like this. You should not assume animals for sale in other states
That's
are
correct.
allowed in Massachusetts.
That's correct.
I would definitely keep that.
Oh, I don't. That's one of the reasons why we put it in.
Yeah. So I'm gonna check.
Do we have a
those.
list someplace of all the animals that are prohibited in Massachusetts? Or
That's
have to
what
look at
I was thinking. I'll look at those sections and then, I'll see if there's anything in particular that is prohibited.
I mean, is there some kind of a definitive list parked somewhere?
That's why I think that the primate thing is under that, as far as.
Yeah, I don't know if
do.
it's-
I have a feeling that they're not for sale and you're not to.
That you're not to have.
Yeah, I
them.
don't know why
Yeah.
I think that or
They're
why.
probably not.
Yeah.
They're probably
It
not.
might have been different in Rhode Island or Connecticut. The only
Yeah.
places that I know of that have them are like, those adventure places that you go,
Yeah,
or like
exactly.
the labs, unfortunately, down
Aye.
at 128.
Yeah,
But
I know.
I don't know why that's stuck in my head that they're not allowed.
I don't know if there's a list, Jane, or if it's addressed
Yeah, I'll
in
look
like,
and- you
like
want
when
me to look
ferrets
at that?
used to be illegal.
Yeah.
I think there was
Yeah.
that was like a line in
Yeah.
the thing said ferrets are not to be kept.
Yeah.
You know, so there might be also something like
Prohibited species or something to that.
Yeah,
Well, like the
yeah.
turtles. Remember when we
Yeah,
were little kids,
yeah.
we'd buy those
Oh,
tiny
those
little
little tiny
turtles,
ones.
and they ended up spreading salmonella. So
Oh,
you can't
and they
buy
were always
those.
getting lost in the house.
Yep. So those are probably on that list.
Yeah, but that's a really good caution there. To, just because somebody's offering it for sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And also, maybe we should look and see if these are if there are other, like the Mass General laws and stuff, if those citations are,
Yeah, make sure that
are
they're still yeah.
valid,
Yeah.
or are there others that we want to include? So I don't know where we'd find that out. I mean,
I have so many of those bookmarked on my computer from my original, like, first term on the board that I think I know where I can find them.
okay.
The other thing we might want to tighten up a little bit is this term farm keeps getting us
Yeah.
in trouble. So I will go back to the Mass General Law, Chapter 111, Section 1, and see, I don't think they actually call it a farm. I think they call it that it's agriculture. And that's kind of what the second sentence says, sufficient proof that it is agriculture. So if that's the definition that they use, then I would propose we get rid of.
Citing.
See, here first we say,
Oh,
we're
exemptions?
exempting
Okay.
properties that are part of farming
Uh-huh.
as defined by. But I believe the mismatch here is that when you get to this, Mass General Law, Chapter 111, there is no definition of a farm. So but it does talk about something being in agricultural use or for agricultural uses. So I think the second sentence gets it right. And maybe we just kind of get rid of that word farm. I don't know what a farm viability plan is. I'll check out whether that's still a thing
What is it?
or not. It's under exemptions B, there's number 3, and it says that, so one of your proof that you're in agriculture is a farm viability plan.
Well, I think that to do a farm viability plan, I think you have to actually meet with a extension. I don't know if they have extension officers here, but it's something you put on file.
Yeah, I just want to
I don't
find
know.
out if
Yeah,
is
find
this
out
still a
that
legit
means.
thing, because when I was looking through this to try to find a definition of farming, I didn't come across anything called a farm viability plan, but it could be someplace else. Okay, so, so we're gonna deny, suspend, revoke, or refuse to renew. That sounds good. Fails to comply, subject to a fine of $100 per day for each part of the day. And for there, I want to look at the language that we used in the trash hauler. Because we were very particular with the language, and I think it was at Bridget's request, so that it made it, I don't know, it just seemed to me that there were several lines there that talked about the fines and how you, so each day or each day or part thereof. I'm just going to check it first.
So,
Now,
Yeah.
what is it that you want to do now? Losing track.
Remember in the trash haulers,
Yes.
you want it to be more specific?
I just remember we had a lot of discussion about how the definition of how we defined the fining and what the intervals were had a lot of it was either input that came back from the state or from Bridget or both about.
I think it was both.
Yeah, so that's just what I want to look at, is
So
how did we do that fining thing in the,
Within a time frame. This one, see, who have a permit denied, revoked? Or are you talking about the dollar amount?
no, I'm talking about the, what got me thinking was this each day or part thereof.
Mm-hmm. A part thereof.
So you're fined $100 a day.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't comply for a whole week, then you're fined $700.
Mhm.
A part thereof.
And I just seem to think that there was just there was more language than that had to do with fines.
Okay.
So I just kind of want to make it
Okay.
consistent.
And you want to make it consistent with?
I'm going to look at the trash haul.
Oh,
Because that's the
okay.
most recent one
The way that they have the
we
wording?
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that we should also look at, and maybe this is what I'm recalling, like recurring fines.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, if you get
Consequences.
second violation, third violation, you're just never going to get another permit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That might be what I'm
More
thinking, is how it
specific.
went to second and third violations.
Yes.
Okay, with all the animals, yeah, no, less than 30 days. Animal control officer, animal control inspector, it's not that, it's animal inspector. Representative from town of Ayer.
So we're taking out animal control inspector?
Yeah, it's just animal inspector, the control.
The
goes.
control.
The first one is right, animal
Yeah.
control officer, but then it's
Okay.
animal inspector. I also made a note to put that as part of our definitions.
Okay.
What is the animal control officer? What is the animal
Right.
inspector? Okay, they have a right to a hearing. Yeah, they can get a variance. The severability, I think, is pretty standard language. Okay. I will do some revisions to this, but let's also get some info from, ask Julie to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything she thinks should be revised, enhanced, deleted.
Well, I'm going to give this to both Julie and to Bridget.
Yes,
Over, yeah.
yes, and Bridget
And
also.
I will give them the deadline so that they get back with their written comments in time for the next meeting.
And we would know about any
Yeah.
questions about permitting
Well, because
Yeah.
if they're working on
the same.
things, because they
Yeah.
cover 17
Yeah.
Right,
communities, we
Yeah.
need to see what others have. Because I know we got
Yeah.
some information, I think from Townsend, when we were working on some of these things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get some of the other towns' things off of the internet
Yes.
too. And I'll
Yeah.
take a look at, especially if any of them are dated pretty recently.
Right,
That
right.
would be good to take a look at.
Okay.
Okay, all
So,
right.
all right.
So I'm going back to work on keeping of
Okay.
animals and
Okay.
Would we, long as we're discussing regulations, and I know it's not on the agenda, but we just did a couple, we might want to, in the future, look at our outdoor wood-burning boiler regulations.
That's probably a pretty old one, huh?
It was probably, yes, in 2007.
Yeah, okay.
Another one. And because we had one that was in town,
Yeah.
down, kind of now in your area,
Yeah, yeah,
caused a great deal of trouble
yeah.
because the smoke outside, people from the housing authority, we had a lot of people here at that. So we gathered all the regulations from other communities. We had a
Yeah.
public hearing, and actually, Calvin was one that got a permit for, and that's when he was up there. Well, that property has changed. I'd be interested to know what the new, if the state has come up with the new regulations, because I think after we did them, they did come up with some.
Oh, interesting.
So if,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't
yeah.
think we're gonna have any with a small area in town, but better to update
Yeah.
these than to find out somebody's got something and we don't have the proper regulations and they're grandfathered.
Well, I remember seeing, it was a couple of years ago, we had a little table of what are the regulations we have, and
Yeah.
like what was the original date, and
Yeah.
what was the date they were last, reviewed,
Yeah.
and even if they were just renewed with no changes.
Yeah,
You think it's time to put one of those together again?
yes, yes.
And then we can take a look at if we have regs there that have,
This was 6/11/07.
yeah, so I would say if it's been 10 years, it's probably time to
Yeah.
at least relook at it.
And I've heard of them in other towns, but like I said, I think the state might have changed a few things. So
Another
we could look at
thing
that.
that we don't have a regulation for, and I'm, by all means, I'm not saying we should promulgate regulations if we don't need them. But I understand from Bridget that a lot of towns have regulations on porta potties, and we don't have any regulation on how and when and where you
You
can.
mean like the
put a-
unindustrial sites, the ones that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
either on industrial sites or anywhere really, for that matter.
Yeah. I've never heard of anything like that.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
I
said, she mentioned that it's a regulation that, I don't recall if she said a lot of other towns or it was like some other towns. But, yeah, I don't think it's anything we need to
No.
jump on immediately.
No.
I can see
no.
where people would be a little bit, when buildings are going up, where they'd be a little put off, because
Yeah.
I can think of one right now that's in my view, that's close. You
Yeah.
gotta look at it, and it's close to the street, and
Yeah.
things happen.
Yeah.
That would be a reason
Yeah.
for a regulation.
And
But
sometimes you have to have them.
I know you have to
Yeah.
have them, but I mean, where you put them to be out of sight would be,
Well, and making sure that they're properly
they're probably,
maintained.
yes,
Yeah, I think probably becomes the bigger deal with them, so.
right.
And that they're probably limited as to how long they can remain in
Right.
place.
Yeah.
Because you don't want
that's
to have them
another-
become a permanent fixture
Yeah, exactly.
of the
Yeah.
neighborhood, because that happens.
Well, that would
Yeah.
be something between, excuse me, the person that's leasing, renting, whatever they do.
Mhm.
They must have a contract, like, I'm gonna need it for yada yada, so many days.
Yeah,
And they get charged by the day, and, this,
Yeah.
certain, there's a contract there that says how long they're gonna be there.
yeah, there's gotta be. I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember, because we had to have a porta potty when we did the big addition on our house. And
Yeah.
it's like the contractor just
Yeah,
did it.
they
don't
do
know. I
it.
didn't
Yeah,
do the contract,
yeah,
but
but you do see them.
yeah,
a
we
lot.
did. We had one out there.
Yeah.
And I even said, "Why do we have that?" And it's a husband and wife, and the wife said, "Do you really want all these workmen tracking into your bathroom?"
Right.
I don't know. I just kind of assumed that's where they
Right.
that's where
Yeah.
they go. I don't
No,
know. It's
no.
not- you can tell I'm kind of a newbie at this.
Okay.
All right.
Ms. Shoba, Board of Health material from Bridget. We have a note here from Bridget. It says, "A few people in my office are changing animal rigs in their towns, and we're collecting regulations." This goes
Mhm.
back to what we just talked about.
Mhm.
Like me to review any of your regulations, let me know, which is very nice of her. We have Shop and Save, 6 violations,
What?
and it was,
They have all prepackaged, right?
type of retail. routine inspection.
Shop and Save?
It
No,
was done-
everything isn't
No.
repackaged. No. They
It was
have
done on the
meats
9th.
there and everything they cut.
Oh, Shop and Say, I was
Shop and
thinking of Family
Yeah.
Dollar.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
okay.
No, I just zoned out.
I was
like,
wondering. I'm saying, whew. God.
Join the club.
Oh,
Join the club.
Yeah.
I'm on a waiting list for a nursing home.
Well, the waiting list is rather long.
So Shop and Save had 6.
Yeah, 6 critical.
6 critical? Wow.
Yeah.
What pre-town
So-
were they? I think that's
Bakery hand sink, fixed soap dispenser, hot water is required. Deli labels, the 3-bay sink, the wash, rinse, and sanitizing unit.
Mm-hmm.
They need to clean the fans in the meat department. They need labels on the 3 different bays.
Yeah.
I know that. The clean and the
Yeah.
knife storage, do not store between the wall and the sink. 27 meat and deli drains full of residue meat. Employees shall wear hair restraint, smocks, aprons. I guess that they didn't have that in place. Violations related to good retail practices, equipment and utensils. That was critical. Water, plumbing, and waste, and physical facility.
Huh.
When did she do this?
The 9th.
Pleasant.
The
So
9th.
she going back, what, in 30 days, did it say, or what?
Um,
Or maybe just
2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, she'll
Yeah.
just pop in again?
Date,
Yeah.
date of reinspection, 2 to 3
2
weeks.
to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah. The other one is for Shaker Hills. They had, it wasn't 0 critical, it was a dishwasher, dishwashing machine at 180 on final rinse,
Okay.
and the coolers and the freezers, proper temps. We'll email the current food manager. I can't read her handwriting. With, in regards to allergy and chafing. I don't know.
Anti-token.
Date of reinspection 6 months plus, so that was,
Yeah.
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 That doesn't sound
Taco Bell 0 critical. Just discussion, had a discussion about the gloves.
Well, the
hot
usual.
rolling. Yeah,
The
Yeah.
usual.
the usual stuff. Okay, so that was that. All gonna be re-inspected. And then, let's see. The review of this, this is the septic. Okay, so we have to sign this Merrimack Warehouse Engineering. This is the permit is to be, well, it's today, August 27th. This is for Environmental Health Division Sewage Disposal Works Construction Permit. The owner is Merrimack Warehouse, location 96 Fitchburg Road. So they have
And they're doing septic.
inspections required, so that we have to sign off on this, and then there is,
It's a Title V.
yeah, it's a Title V.
Yeah.
And it's approved. We just have to
Yeah.
sign it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we don't need to pass this around, just if anyone's interested.
No, just sign
Yeah.
the permit.
Keep this together.
Oh, we all have to sign this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it says all 3
Yeah,
signatures.
we always do.
Get one that's gonna really go through to the other pages then.
Here, do you want a pen? Here.
Well, I'm just looking for one that's gonna really,
Oh,
this
you
is
have
like a
like
little
those-
felt tip
Oh,
kind
I
of
see.
thing, yeah. And of course, Mary has a proper pen.
given to me by an Indian group.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
Okay. And the next item was the status of the homeless encampment on Scully Road. There was an email from Bridget that it had been cleaned up, or they had moved on. There was some, quite a bit of debris left over,
Yeah.
and that they had contacted the owner to let him know.
And she did say that he realized that he'd give him another week or so to get rid of all the stuff out of there.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so the mail. More mosquito updates from the 20th. Central Mass Mosquito Control Project, about the West Nile in the area in the spring.
Yeah.
We knew that. Important community notification of the Neshoba Boards of Health regarding general information on the West Nile virus. And that was also, that went out on social media too.
Yeah.
And it went out everywhere, so we've all heard about that. And then the water quality notice, that was out on social media too, about the water division has increased the chlorine level.
Oh, yeah.
So that if you
Okay,
notice a chlorine taste and a smell in the water, there may
Yeah.
be some discolor. It's safe to drink. It's happened before.
Yeah.
It's not a big issue.
Yeah.
You might want to put some water in a container, vigorously shake it to off-gas the chlorine, put it in the fridge to keep it cold, and anything else. If you have any more questions, you call DPW 772-8240. But this has happened
Yeah.
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the same one. Oh yeah, this is just a notice. Good morning, please review the attachment of potential exposure to measles at an area hospital and other locations. This was on the news too.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
All over
And,
the
and
news.
Yeah.
it sends panic. I mean,
I
people
know.
just panic over this stuff, especially if they have, small children.
Yeah.
Get your vaccination.
I know.
Yeah.
It's really
Exactly.
just
Uh-huh.
vaccinate your
Yep.
kids.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So these are going back in here.
All right.
All right. That's my agenda.
Do you want an agenda?
No, I have it right in front of me. I'm looking at, okay. Mail review, bills, discussion whether to cancel.
No,
That's
I
all.
just saw that.
Mail review, bills, miscellaneous, action items. We do have some discussion for the
Yeah.
next.
Well, we've already pretty much got them, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
because we're gathering a lot of information.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll have some stuff hopefully on both of the two regulations that are.
Okay, so the two regs, the animal, I'm going to go on that too, Pam, to look at the animal. It's on the Mass General Laws for animal, to see
Yeah.
about some of that.
If you look
Yeah.
in your copy of this, you got to start doing some nosing around. So you kind of start here.
Right here.
And that gets you to stuff involving like Mass Department of Agriculture. But then when you're kind of in that that searchable site, you can get to an area where you can search the Mass General Laws.
Yep.
And then there's another one where you can search the Code of Mass Regulations. So these are another couple of good ones here where they're talking about the wild animals, because there's some stuff under the Mass General Laws, and then there's some of it that is actually in the regulations.
Okay. All right. Just to look at that. Oh, and I also, there was an email, the training for the open meeting law.
Oh, yeah.
November 15th at Bromfield, and I couldn't print out the whole thing, but I'll go back on.
That's right, I got that.
I should go.
It's at like 5:30 or
Yeah,
something too, right? So
yeah,
people can actually
Now,
go.
when is this?
It's November 15th. What's November 15th?
Yeah.
Talks about the open meeting
It's a
laws.
Thursday,
is
which
it?
means I'm gonna be in German class.
Okay.
And it's training for the open meeting?
The
Yeah.
Open meeting law, yeah. It is a Thursday, yeah. We got a little bit of time.
And where is it being held?
Bromfield in Harvard.
Brownfield School.
Mm-hmm.
What time?
5:30.
It's 5:30, yeah.
Okay.
And is this something that, I'm not familiar, is this something that gets updated all the time?
Yes,
So is it
yes.
every year?
No, it's not every year. I think it was every, well, we've had it here
couple
of
before,
years?
every couple
Yeah.
of years.
See,
We had it. I went to the one that was up in the
We
Great
had, yes,
Hall,
in the
but
Great Hall.
Okay.
that was kind of, it wasn't just for people from Ayer. It was like,
Yeah,
you know,
from
people
other
from
different
surrounding.
boards. Okay.
Yeah. It was actually pretty good.
All right.
Yeah.
It's good.
It was well,
Interesting, yeah.
yeah, because I think it's every couple of years or every 3 years or something
Yeah.
like that.
Good info. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the two big ones for the next meeting will be the animal
Yeah,
regs
I think our regs.
and the permitting process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
More discussion.
before we adjourn, I have the schedule done for next year.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask you first on a couple of things, because we always have one meeting just in April because of elections.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's all right. May we change it because of town meeting, so we do the 1st and the 3rd?
Yeah.
All right, well, in October, we also do 1st and 3rd because of fall town meeting. Now, in November, the Veterans Day happens to be when we would normally meet on the 2nd Monday. And then the 4th would be Thanksgiving week, so I
Yeah.
thought that we should do it on the 1st and the 3rd, which would be November 4th and November 18th. And then I put the one in the middle of December, which would be the 16th, and we always
Yeah.
just do the one
Yeah,
meeting.
we do one,
All right, I
yeah.
can bring that, I'll bring that in then next
Hey,
time I
all right.
scribble this down.
Fabulous.
Okay.
So that would,
Sounds like it
Thank
would
you.
work.
all right.
Boy, quick year, huh?
All right.
Oh, this
can't
year
believe
is, this year has flown by.
I can't believe it's almost September 1st.
I know.
can't-
Summer
crazy.
just flew.
Yeah.
No, summer won't let go. It's going to be like
I
90.
don't care.
They have,
degrees.
no,
To stay.
oh, they have already in a couple of communities put a half day
Yeah.
for this week for
Lowell
school
and
because
Watts.
of the oppressive, it will be up to 100.
And humid.
That's what I
I'm so
mean.
sick of summer. It's like, go.
We
Oh,
should do the
just
half.
go.
We should do the half days. I don't know why we're not.
The kids aren't
Because,
in-
well, in
Yeah,
Air, Wednesday and Thursday they start down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Really?
yeah,
And that's the two hottest days.
yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
so.
that's horrible.
And it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt to do a half day
Are
because
the
they're
kids
not
in your
really.
school back already?
No, but we have to go in for those 2 days. But our kids come September 4th. We always start after.
It's the day, that's the day
after
after
Labor Day.
Labor Day.
Yeah. But it is what it is. Anyways, if there's nothing else.
No, so I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Good.
6:54.
Good.
Good.
That's pretty good. We did